I'm always down to be obsessed with a new epic fantasy series.
Yeah, well, we broke down. We broke down on the motorway.
3 minutes before my train arrived, they evacuated the entire train station because of a gas leak. I will say, a lot of polyester for the 1800s. This week is a very exciting one in the realm of fantasy publishing because of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill is about to get a trad pub release. I was lucky enough to be sent this absolutely stunning copy by the Broken Binding Publishing and also Black Crow PR. So thank you so much for putting this book in my hands. I'm so excited to read this one because it has been recommended to me endlessly since even before the trad pub deal was announced, because the first 3 books in this series, don't quote me on this, I think it's going to be a 5-book series, and the first 3 are currently available on Kindle Unlimited, as well as the first 3 novellas. And I believe that the reading order is to alternate between the books and the novellas. I have it on good authority as well from my friend Jess, who's over on Instagram at JSXReads, that I am okay to read the first novella after book 1. And Jess said that it will have a bit more of an emotional impact if I read it that way. So that's the route that I'm going to go. I don't really know too much about this because we've discussed this before. Fantasy synopses without any context or knowledge of the world go right over my head. But this has been compared to Wheel of Time, which we all know I didn't have the best time with. It's also been compared to Eragon, which I haven't read, and also for fans of John Gwynne, which I can solidly say that I am. So 1 out of 3 ain't bad. Meatloaf went for 2 out of 3. Unfortunately, right now I can only provide 1. This has some like legendary warriors in it who are called, I think, the Dragon Guard. So I'm then expecting dragons to be in here. I have heard that there are quite a few mythical creatures as well, like magical monsters, which we love. And I'm going to be diving into this one today ahead of the launch party in London, which I'm going to be attending tomorrow. You guys know I do my best reading on the train, so I'm hoping to make a massive dent in this one over the next couple of days and wrap it up before the end of this vlog. I do have a stack of current reads that I'm also working my way through, but for the purpose of this vlog, we're going to be focusing on Of Blood and Fire. Now, I don't know whether there has been any editing done in between the Kindle releases, the indie releases of this book, and the trad pub. So I'm currently going to be going on faith that both of those copies are the same. And I'm going to be reading this first book on my Kindle because I am heading out today and obviously for tomorrow. I might take this with me because Ryan Cahill is going to be at the event so that I can have it maybe signed and personal. This one's already signed actually. But in terms of reading, it's just so much more convenient that I go with the ebook copy of this one. And I will, of course, let you know my thoughts as we go. I'm always down to be obsessed with a new epic fantasy series. And based on what I've heard, there's a good chance that this could be the one for me. This could be my epic fantasy series of 2026. So I am, as I said, heading out today. Myself and Curtis postponed our Valentine's Day celebrations because we have Kami in at a sitter for a trial night tonight ahead of us going to South Korea next month because she's a little bit more shy and nervous around people. Brie was the most outgoing, most confident dog that ever existed, and if we left her somewhere, she didn't even notice. Kami is not that girl. So we have her in at a trial night. Nothing's going as expected in my life right now, so we've had to reschedule a little bit. The sitter that we're using does have a dog, but they share their dog with an ex, and the dog isn't going to be there, which we really needed to see if Kami would be comfortable with another dog because she, like with people, can be a little shy and nervous. So we've rescheduled to do just one night tonight so we can go out, and we don't need to go out. We're just making most of the time that we've got because obviously we usually have to be conscious of the fact we have to be home for Kami. And then we booked her in for a couple of nights in early March with the other dog, and hopefully she will now today get a lay of the land and the person who's going to be looking after her before we introduce another dog into the mix. So long story short, we're going into Leeds and then we're seeing Wuthering Heights tonight. I don't know what we're doing in Leeds. We're definitely going to Costco because it's been a while and I'm nearly out of avocado oil, and we may stop by one of the Next Home stores. There's still a few bits that I need for the bathroom. I want to get new towels and a new bath mat that match the decor that we've gone with, And I also want a caddy for the shower, and they have a really nice one in Next, but I've only been able to find it in store in gold. So while we're going into Leeds, thought we may as well go pick up the black one while we're there. Speaking of the bathroom, actually, when I left you, we had some scratches on the shower glass and I was psyching myself up to make that call. I made that call today. It went fine. They came, they took photos and videos so that they can contact their supplier. I'm still not hopeful that I'm going to get a resolution that I'm satisfied with, being a perfectionist, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and we'll see kind of what they come back to me with. And they have also popped in this morning to finish everything up aside from the light, wiring in the mirror, and a new light switch. So we have the shelf up, and I'm sure I'll show you all that throughout the course of this vlog as well. But for now, I'm going to pack my Kindle into my bag, as well as there's something else I needed to take. I need to make myself a liquid IV, and I'm going to skedaddle, get Carmi to the sitter, try not to be anxious about that, and try and enjoy the rest of my day.
So, you know how I was telling you about how absolutely everything is going wrong and nothing seems to be going right, and at the last minute everything is just pretty much falling through? Yeah, well, we broke down on the motorway, just casually pulled over on the hard shoulder. Oh, Curtis looks like he's on the phone to the breakdown people now. We didn't like breakdown, but the wheel was making a funny noise, and when we pulled over I had a little look, and it seems that I can turn all of the nuts with my fingers. And I sent a video to my dad and he's like, you're not really supposed to be able to do that. But weirdly, Curtis's car doesn't seem to come with a wrench, so I can't fix it myself, and now we're waiting for the breakdown people. If anything went right in my life, like at this point, it would be a miracle. I do not know what I did to deserve such shitty luck. The joy I felt when I got to chapter 3 of this book and I found out that it was a woman's perspective. We're now following Ella. We've been following Kaylin, I think, who may be our main character, may not. I did assume that this was multi-perspective, but I didn't know if we were following one central character or like a balance of different ones. But by chapter 3, we have a female perspective, which is exciting.
Girl, I think of you. I think of caramel skin, your curly hair, and 3 bird tattoos. Every time I scroll through a photo album, I always feel nostalgia mixed with emptiness, 'cause we thought we were limitless. But now, oh now, I wonder if
Hi, I have so much to fill you guys in on. First off, I 100% intended to do an update yesterday before I went out, but I had a dentist appointment very early in the morning, so when I came home, it was really inconvenient because I could have done with a lion, but when I came home, I chose to work on the video that needs to go up tomorrow, which we'll talk about in a minute, for a couple of hours, and then once I'd started getting ready for the event, I realized I didn't quite have time. When I got the train from my hometown, the town that I live in, to Doncaster, and everything was fine. Everything was well and good. I had like a 40-minute changeover in the middle because I was feeling extra cautious, and 3 minutes before my train arrived, they evacuated the entire train station because of a gas leak. I was stood outside in the cold for I think about 50 minutes, and I had already rang Curtis and I was like, if it's not sorted by 5 p.m, you're gonna have to come and get me because I can't get in the train station to get a train home, and there's no point me going to the event if I can't get on a train by 5. So it approached 10 to 5 and I was like, okay, you should probably just come and pick me up. I'll let you know if anything changes in the next 15 minutes, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to make it. And then lo and behold, about 3 minutes after that, they got us into the station and I got myself to London. I was slightly late for the event. I think I arrived 40 minutes after it started, but that was absolutely fine. I don't actually think I got too much footage last night, but I had a blast. It was so much fun. It was quite crowded. There were a lot of people there, which has really contributed to the fact that I didn't get much footage, but they had a promo table with cakes and bookmarks and stuff, which was really cool.
There were a bunch of different authors there. I had a little chat with Mr. John Gwynne again. Joe Abercrombie was also there, of course, Ryan Cahill. So it was great to like bob around and get some one-on-one time with these authors, some of which I have read and loved in the past, and some of which that are on my TBR. But on the way there, I was reading a book from our man of the hour, of course, which is Mr. Ryan Cahill, and I made it. I don't know what percentage I'm in because I was mainly reading on my Kindle. I did get this signed and personalized, so that's nice. And I made it to of this proof copy, page 168. And I so understand why this is compared to John Gwynne. I feel like the way that this story starts off with our main character, who I think is called Kaylin. I had a few drinks last night and I'm feeling it today. You're going to have to bear with me because the old noggin is not working as well as she could. But yeah, the main character, who I do think is the dominant character that we follow, although we do spin off and follow some others, I think that the main guy is called Kaylin, and his origin story is very comparable to Corbin's, although I feel like on a more accelerated pace. So we start off where he lives in this village, we establish his family, his two best friends, and they are about to go and do something called the Proving, which is where they are taken into the forest and they have to hunt and bring something back. And this is kind of the trial that transitions them from boys to men, like we have with Corbin. That's what Corbin is working up to in the first book of The Faithful and the Fallen. He also has a wolf, as Corbin does in The Faithful and the Fallen, and we follow him as he goes through this Proving, but then also we're establishing some conflict that he has with other people in his village. We have a bully figure, kind of like Rafe in The Faithful and the Fallen, and we also establish while he's going through this Proving some of the more mythical, magical creatures in the world. There is an elven storyteller who comes to their village who tells them the tale of the rise of the empire. So at the minute, this world is under the control of an empire, but before that, I think it's the order that existed before that, but there were giants, there were elves who were very normal, like common citizens of this world, and they were beaten back by the empire. So they do still exist in little reclusive pockets. But our main character, Kaylin, who lives in the kind of peaceful seclusion of his village, the Glade, has never seen any of these other races. But we find out about how this empire rose and kind of like beat back the opposition, and they stole all the dragon eggs, so their opposing forces were weaker because they didn't have any dragons to bond to. And we find out very early on in this book that there is potentially a pocket of resistance who are trying to fight back against the empire, and Kaylin and his friends accidentally get wrapped up in all of that, which changes their lives forever. The writing style in here I'm finding very easy to follow. It is a very simple, digestible writing style. There is a lot going on in the world, and I'm not 100% on all of that yet. There is a glossary, which is really helpful, that I've been using, but I mean, it's early days. It's the first 200 pages of a new adult epic fantasy series, so I'm very much still gaining my bearings. But in terms of the writing, I find the writing of this book to be very accessible, even though the world takes a little bit more work to get your head around. I did find that because the writing in itself wasn't necessarily anything out of the ordinary, that I was struggling a little bit throughout the first, I want to say 30% of this, to keep myself hooked and absorbed in the story, especially because right at that beginning stages, as I've told you guys, like, it reminded me a lot of The Faithful and the Fallen. I also do see the Wheel of Time comparisons in here, especially with the way that our main group of characters are established as being all from the same place, the same small village, all of a similar age, and are seemingly going to be pushed out into this conflict that is a lot bigger than them. So throughout the beginning of this book, I did struggle to stay locked in, but I think that there is a turning point at around the 35% mark where we stop kind of establishing who the characters are and they start to move forward in the plot. And now that we have that something else going on, I found that I am a lot more invested in this one. So I don't think I'm at the halfway point yet. I think I'm somewhere around 40%. So I definitely have a ways to go. But I think that this one so far is laying some pretty strong foundations. I'm especially interested in all of the different races that we have. I don't know if I could tell you
a series I've read and enjoyed that has elves, like Lord of the Rings classic style elves as well. So I'm very, very intrigued about that. And I'm probably not going to get any reading done today because we didn't actually go to the cinema on Monday night with the setback of the car breaking down. When I told you guys that my look is terrible, like, do you believe me now? There's the whole thing surrounding the sitter and how that didn't go exactly the way that we planned, although she was great and she had a great time. And the dog that she's going to be staying with did come back for like the last hour that she was there, and they got on great, so I'm really happy with that. But that went wrong at the last minute, and then we had the car broke down. We've now had the entire Doncaster train station being evacuated. I, like, literally, guys, if you see me in the street, stay away from me for your own safety at this point, because I don't know who's cursed me, but something funky is going on. But essentially, because we got to where we were going so late, we ended up postponing the cinema to tonight and just spending more time in Leeds so that we could go to Costco and also actually like have a look around. I think we went to White Rose Shopping Centre instead of like feeling like we were really rushed. So I'm going to be going to the cinema tonight. I'm currently editing my video that should be going up tomorrow, and scheduling, obviously I didn't really think this through at the time because I've scheduled a video that takes quite a few rounds of edit, so a little bit more time to edit than a typical video that I would post on my channel, to go up in a week where I'm out of office Monday, Tuesday, like not here, not doing much work. And today I'm, if you watched last week's vlog, I am not as hungover as I was last week, but I'm feeling slightly fragile, so it took me a little while to get motivated this morning. But I have actually finished a book, because I finished my reread of The Hating Game so that I could finish up filming the annotation video, and now I'm editing that. I hope I'm about halfway through the book in terms of where I'm editing, and this is just the first round of edits, so wish me luck, guys, because I have a lot to get through. But I gave this 5 stars again. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time I read it. If you did once again see last week's vlog, I did discuss how I feel a little differently about contemporary romance as a genre than I did when I originally read this. And I think I read this when I had COVID. I did like a weekend reading vlog where I didn't get out of bed. I wasn't in my right mind. I don't think it is a book issue though. I think it's a me issue. And I did discuss how my relationship with the romance genre has changed over the last few years in last week's vlog, if you do want to go ahead and check that out. But I had such a good time annotating this. I'm now like, what else can I annotate? Because honestly, I want it to be everything. I've had such a fun experience, and I've gotten so much more out of this annotation process than I anticipated that I would, which is great. So I am going to go. It's almost dinner time. But I'm going to the cinema. Our film is at 7:30, so we need to leave at about 6:45. I should probably tidy up my hair and change out of my sweatpants before we go. And I'm also going to get something to eat. Luckily, I did plan ahead in some regards, because when we were at Costco, I got a carbonara, so that all I have to do is put that in the oven and I don't have to like actually cook tonight. So I may not have thought ahead in terms of scheduling this video, but at least I thought ahead in some regard. So we just saw Wuthering Heights.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you have thoughts? I don't know how thoughty my thoughts are.
Overall enjoyed soundtrack.
I did feel like
heard.
Parts of it were just a Charlie XCX music video, because every time, and I love the soundtrack.
She wasn't in it.
I love yeah, but you don't have to be in the music video.
True.
Mr. Arty music weirdo is like, oh, she's not in. All right, never mind. Anyway, I love the soundtrack, the Charlie XCX soundtrack in general. First off, the entire thing is not in the film, which actually surprised me quite a lot.
I enjoyed the thing that's the folk stuff.
But then I found that every time they played a Charlie XCX song, it was a montage.
Yeah.
Like a music video.
So I remembered like halfway through that in the 2009...
Is that Tom Hardy?
The Tom Hardy one that I grew up with. It's a TV thing, so they could go for longer. And it does go into this almost like a second act where she has a daughter and Heathcliff gets and uses her as a hostage situation and takes it all out on the daughter.
So we were discussing this on the way here. Like, I don't watch classic adaptations. Sorry guys, I've never seen the Colin Firth Pride and Prejudice, and I don't care to. And you made me watch the 2009 Wuthering Heights. I don't remember it at all, apart from the Andrew Lincoln plays Linton. And I have read the book. I've read the book twice, but I think the last time I read it was over 10 years ago. But
My biggest gripe with this, the movie, is that it ends halfway through the book. Like,
I think it would have been 4 hours. What I liked about the visual thing
I love the visuals.
was like the odd like set piece scene, but there was a really weird, I don't know if it was CGI, but it was to show that the alcohol thing of the dad, and there was just these like really weird 3-dimensional bottles in the background piled up, and you could tell like they weren't real.
Oh, I didn't notice that they weren't real. So I was really excited about this because Wuthering Heights is my favourite classic, but also because Saltburn is the best film that I've watched in years. I watched it like the December, I think you were aware. No, I don't know. I watched it the year that it was released, and I was obsessed because I used to do film studies at college, and I became a really big film nerd because of it. And Emerald Fennell is the first time in literally like a decade that I've been excited about a director, since I was obsessed with like Tim Burton and Baz Luhrmann when I was in my probably early 20s, and I think visually it was stunning, and I would like to rewatch it because I want to really dive into the symbology and the representation, like why red is such a prominent colour throughout that entire thing. Like it's all black and white and red.
The sky, there's the sky where it fades into the sky and he's going off on horseback.
On his horse, yeah, that was beautiful. I will say a lot of polyester for the 1800s. I feel like we're okay to talk about this in kind of vague terms because can you spoil Wuthering Heights? It's like 200 to 300 years old. It is the 1800s, right? Not the 1700s. I'm terrible with time periods. Can you look that up? She was like 1840 something, right? Oh, no, I was a little bit out. So like the end of the 1700s, 1750s to 1800. Still, a lot of polyester. I know a lot of people have been praising the kids.
Yeah,
that play the childhood versions of them. I don't like that boy from Adolescence.
Yeah, well, you've kind of been programmed to not like him because of Adolescence.
I know, but you were just talking about the accents, and I don't feel like he did anything to get the scouse out of his.
But he had to do a scream, and your voice is naturally probably going to go to its default. Did you notice that, do you know the cover, the movie poster? Did you notice that the scene of the movie that most closely represents the movie poster is the very end? Oh, yeah.
And I was like, hot damn. I don't know. Oh, my favourite moment. In terms of the sexy content, okay, it was a bit like lurid and jarring and weird in a lot of it.
They did a lot of like...
but I did really like the bit that I did really like. Can you guess what it is? The bit that I liked. It was the bit where he pulled her up with a corset.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what?
Put me down.
Never put me down.
There was a lot of like, what's it called? It was like visual innuendo.
Yes,
like
there was
the
a lot
finger
of
through
that.
the fish goo.
Yeah, it was a bit...
And the snail.
It was a bit like...
I think that's in Saltburn as well, that sort of thing as well, right?
Yeah, and I feel like it makes sense more for Saltburn, because am I supposed to be unsettled when I'm watching Wuthering Heights? I feel like you are. With Saltburn, you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, you know the other shoe is going to drop, but you don't know what it is. But you know there's something wrong with that entire situation the whole time you're watching it. I don't know if I'm supposed to feel like that watching Wuthering Heights.
Setting-wise, you are, because of the moors and the weather. I feel like the weather's played with.
The weather is played within the book, but very representative of the moors, I feel.
Yeah.
It's always cold, wet, windy and raining. I mean, if you want a crash course in Wuthering Heights, just listen to Kate Bush, who was essentially eradicated from that movie due to where they decided to cut the story. Like, the most poignant part of, like, Wuthering Heights is the haunting. But I do understand as well, because, like, there's been a whole debate about, like, the representation of Wuthering. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't go, I'm going to remake Lord of the Rings and we're going to cut it as they get to see the elves.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's the end of the movie. You just don't do that. But as I was saying, there's been like a big debate online with the trailer being incredibly erotic. A lot of people were like, well, that's not Wuthering Heights, blah, blah, blah. So I went into this not expecting it to be a true and faithful adaptation of Wuthering Heights, but I was very, very excited to see what Emerald Fennell would do because of how much I loved Saltburn. And I believe that the angle that she was going for in directing and creating this movie was her interpretation of Wuthering Heights when she first read it at 14 years old. And I understand, based on that, why it could... I mean, she had some wild fucking imagination for a 14-year-old. Like, if that was her interpretation. But I do think that it makes sense why it would then focus on the romance between Kathy and Heathcliff, as opposed to, like, the end. Because if you're somebody who's in it, like if you've been enraptured by Kathy and Heathcliff, then the end is a massive drag. Because it's just Heathcliff being awful until he dies. They were terrible people. They were awful. They were awful to everybody and they were awful to each other, but they didn't. There's so many things that could have happened differently that would have stopped them from becoming these horrible people.
Not enough madness, then you're saying?
Not enough madness.
Yeah, not enough Heathcliff descended into mess.
I don't know. I feel like there is to underpin the story of Kathy and Heathcliff, there is, I mean, obviously it's super relevant, the end and the fact that he just becomes a miserable shell of a human without her. And that just isn't in the film. I'm really interested to see what people think who haven't read or seen any other adaptation of Wuthering Heights, who have come into this just for Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. Visually stunning. It was very similar to Saltburn, especially, do you know that room with the hands up the fireplace? I really need to rewatch this movie and really think about the metaphor, because
The leech is not only on her, but also up her skin walls as well.
Yes. Like, what was the meaning behind? She leaves Wuthering Heights. Why does she enter this futuristic world of sequined walls and polyester? That confused me a lot. Like, I understand it's like she's going to this new shiny life and she wanted to marry this rich man because her father's leading them all to ruin. But why polyester? I guess they represented modernity because they had new money and she was old money. But I don't know. I feel like I need to rewatch. Because that's why I like Emerald Fennell, because I like the mise-en-scène and the set dressing and the like contrast. She has really like bright contrasty colour palettes that I like. I did feel like the costumes though, especially at the beginning, felt very like live action Snow White. You know, like where she bursts into the stable in a red dress and I'm like, I feel like Beauty and the Beast, live action Beauty and the Beast, and she's going to sing a song about the neighbourhood. Yeah, so the costume didn't work for me.
Create the separation of the two worlds, because his green suit at the end merging in with the rest of his
bedroom, and her bedroom was just empty with a tiny bed, and his bed like really dominates the space. Anywho, those are our thoughts. We're going to go to Asda and then we're going to go home, and then I'm going to do a lot of work tomorrow, but hopefully I will also finish my book soon. We need to be reading some books. Catch. Don't. Sit. What's she got? New toys? No, that's it now. You've had enough. Hello, my guys. Happy Saturday. My week is not going exactly to plan, but I mean, when does it ever? I have a lot going on up here right now. There's a lot of clutter in the old brain, and when that happens, I do find it really difficult to read. So yesterday I spent hours just scrolling on Instagram, and you know that I've got a lot going on in my mind that I'm trying to avoid when that is the way that I'm choosing to spend my time. But I am almost 75% of the way through this now. I'm up to chapter 27, which is page 286. And I have enjoyed it a lot more since I got to that 35% mark that I told you guys about in our last big update about this. I think I just got a lot more well established with the characters. There's still a lot that I don't really understand about this world, because there are a lot of places, there's a lot of races, there's a lot of characters. We've just added like 5 people to our traveling party as well. So I feel like there's a lot that I'm still getting to grips with, but with epic fantasy, sometimes you kind of just have to trust that if it's important, you'll know about it. Like if it's an important person or an important part of the story, it's gonna come up again, and eventually you're just going to get the hang of it and like be able to follow the thread. When we do have a lot going on like that, especially for a book that is relatively short like this one is, it does sometimes take me a little bit longer to get into it, and I did actually quite struggle with that first 30 to 35%. But since we reached a bit of a turning point in the story and I kind of got a little bit more to grips with what direction the story was going in, I've been enjoying it a lot more. This has a lot of animal death in it, which I did want to let
let you guys know about. It's kind of in the same vein as John Gwynne, but also Robin Hobb. In one of the Robin Hobb books, I think it might be Ship of Magic, there's like a 40-page chapter about hunting, and it gets pretty graphic, and you know, like the dissection, there's a little bit of that in here. And for the first part of this book, I felt like there was quite a lot. I don't think it's anything gratuitous in that it is the typical kind of thing that you would encounter in a medieval or classic style fantasy story. Things like, of course, hunting. There's a lot of creatures within the forests of this world that they have to contend with. There's a lot of battles in this story, and they ride horses, so it is that kind of thing. But we do have some animal companions in here as well. There is a wolf that we're introduced to at the very beginning, and I don't think it is too much of a spoiler to tell you guys that there's a dragon in here. I mean, did I tell you the name of the dragon warriors? I think they're called either the Dragon Sworn or the Dragon Guard. They're actually the bad guys in here because they are allied with the Empire. And I think that the main thing that we're going to be tackling in this story is overthrowing that Empire. That is the impression that I'm getting at the moment. We have a group of characters who represent, I think they're called the Knights of Acreon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Does it say in here? There is pronunciation in the back, which I have been using the glossary a little bit, but I haven't actually said a lot of the words in this book out loud yet. Oh, see, it says the Knights of, it's not Acreon, it's Acheron, maybe? Because it has a section for the knights and it tells you who the knights are. Oh, there it is. There it is. One of the gods is Acheron, and they are the Knights of Acheron. So the impression that I'm getting here is that it is the Knights of Acheron versus the Empire, because back in the history of this world, the Empire suppressed a lot of the races and a lot of the cultures, especially like dragon riders, magic wielders, and that kind of thing. And I think that this story is going to be those communities fighting back against the Empire, using our main character of Kaelin as their kind of champion, like almost how we have the Bright Star in the Faithful and the Fallen, and also of course the Dragon Reborn in Wheel of Time. I feel like Kaelin is going to turn into that chosen one kind of character. I'm still really intrigued about the world, and I do think that I maybe wish that we had a little bit more time spent just exploring various facets of this world. We start in that first 30% kind of establishing ourselves within the characters, and then we move on from there. I think we've pretty much been traveling the entire time. So I would like us to stop in one of these communities and learn a little bit more, because at the minute I feel like the majority of the information we're getting is being imparted to the main characters on the road. Like I said, we've just had like 5 new people join our traveling party, so he's asking some of those questions to give him a little bit of clarity, because this world is completely new to him. The Empire have kind of made it so that while there are these legends of the world, that like one of our main characters, who is called Theron, who is an elf, he is a traveling storyteller, and he used to stop at the main character's village and tell them stories. But to a lot of the people who live in this world, they are just stories. So through the lens of our main character, who doesn't really know anything about magic and thinks everything is lore and legend, we're learning a little bit about the world and the magic. But I do like it when we learn these kinds of things through exploration as opposed to just being told, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping to explore some of those elements, maybe not in this book because it is a little bit shorter, but I do think that the books get significantly longer as the series goes on. So I'm hoping that that means that we are making time for those slow moments, more exploration. It's kind of like what I said when I was talking about how I enjoy middle grade stories, because I feel like middle grade really leans into the concept of introducing you to this really cool thing, really cool place, and then spending a lot of time exploring and absorbing that. Whereas sometimes I find in adult fantasy that we are kind of learning on the fly. Like, we don't get to indulge in some of the really cool stuff like we do
in middle grade stories.
Good morning, guys. Happy Sunday. I have less than 30 pages of my book left. I think I read quite a lot last night, and then when I went to bed, I chose to watch Vanderpump Rules instead of finishing my book. But I am hosting Patreon sprints for the majority of the day from about 12:30, so I'm definitely going to finish it then. But because it's Sunday, I want to make a sweet treat. Last week, I made double chocolate peanut butter cookies, which I haven't made them in quite some time. They are one of my go-to recipes because they're so easy and they taste so good, but it has been a while and they were amazing. So I'm trying a new cookie recipe today. I'm doing a like toasted coconut dipped in dark chocolate kind of situation. Haven't even really looked at the recipe properly, and I don't 100% know that I have all of the ingredients, but that is my plan, and hopefully they're as delicious as they look because I love coconut, but I don't feel like I cook with it very often. I have a really nice toasted coconut and dulce de leche, I don't know if I said that right, dulce de leche brownie recipe that I really love, but it's like a really complicated, involved one, and I'm not in the mood for that today. So we'll make some more cookies and fingers crossed they turn out okay. So I just finished a Blood and Fire on sprints with my patrons, and I think I'm going to be rating this one 3.5 stars. There was a lot that I really enjoyed about this, but I feel like it reads very much like a debut. The writing needs a little bit of work, and I actually don't doubt that Ryan Cahill has grown as a writer throughout the process of writing this entire series, which gets so much bigger after book one. So I'm definitely willing to give him and the series the benefit of the doubt in this regard. I just feel like it reads a little bit unpolished. Now, the very good thing about this series for me is that even though you can see where Ryan Cahill has drawn his inspiration from, while you can definitely see the influence of series that I haven't particularly loved, like Lord of the Rings and Wheel of Time in this book, I think my issue with those series and with classic fantasy in general is that I don't enjoy the delivery of the series. I like the contents are fine, the plot is fine, but it's the way in which they are written that puts me off. And this is written more along the lines of John Gwynne. I feel like this is very reminiscent of Malice by John Gwynne, and John Gwynne is also an author who I feel like when you pick up Malice for the first time, it is very clear that that is the first thing that he has ever written. And I know from experience of having read 7 of John Gwynne's books now, and I'm on the cusp of going into like the only other 3 books he's currently published. I know how much he has grown as an author through practice and continuing to write within the Banished Lands world. And that is why I kind of have confidence that this series, in terms of the writing, is going to improve as it continues. I think that this is a very strong foundation for a fantasy series, but I do feel like we had a lot of establishment in this one. A lot of it was putting characters in the places where they need to be for more epic plot lines to emerge, but for the most part in this one we are following the beginning threads of a chosen one plot line, which is something that we've seen time and time again. And in terms of the characters, I feel like I could have done with a little bit more time with them. I would have appreciated a little bit of a slower pace throughout a lot of this book so that I became a little bit more attached to the characters before we embarked on this epic quest. I think in terms of everybody that we've met so far, my favorite character is actually Rist, who is on a little bit of a different trajectory than I expected for him at the beginning of this one. And I think that that is why I'm intrigued to see where that goes, because he's going to be representing a very different viewpoint from everybody else that we meet in this series. Now, I was excited about that female perspective that we had. I will say, along with Rist, we don't visit Ella very often in here. We are more focusing on the storyline of Kaelin, who is our chosen one character, and what is happening with him. Now, at this point, I don't know whether that is going to change within the rest of the books in the series. Kind of like with Wheel of Time, how you will focus on Rand for like 2 books, and then 1 book will be pretty much just about Perrin, and we'll check in with Rand occasionally. I don't know whether that is the vibe of this series, or whether it is going to be quite solidly following Kaelin and then very intermittently jump in to the other characters in this series. But I definitely would like to see more from the side characters. And there is a guy in here, I really can't remember his name. Is he in the glossary? He's not a good guy as far as I can tell, but he is very intriguing to me. He's called like Phelan or something, I think. He's not Phelan, that's an Elven Ranger. He's not Fane either. Fada, that's the guy. If you guys know about this series, Fada is very intriguing to me, and I'm especially intrigued with the way that this book ended. I was hoping for a pretty dynamic ending to this one that left me wanting more, and I do think it definitely did that. It wasn't a super explosive ending, but it did introduce a couple of plot threads that kind of trailed off to go into the second book that I am very interested in pursuing. I do think I'm going to kind of continue the series quite soon as well. I'm not going to pick up book 2 immediately, but I am going to catch up on the 2 novellas, or the novella and the short story that come before this. I'm doing a 24-hour readathon with my patrons tomorrow, and the prompt that we have is to read small books, so books under 300 pages. So I'm hoping that I can read the first novella in this series, because I believe that the novellas are quite important. I don't think this one is as important as the rest of them, but it's called The Fall, and I think it details the fall of the Order and the rise of the Empire, which so far is one of the most interesting facets of this world for me. So I'm hoping to read that so that I'm ready to jump into book 2 whenever that may be, because I do find that if I have a novella, or if I have to segue a little bit, it does put me off continuing a series because I have those extra hurdles to get through. So I'm hoping to check those off really soon. So sadly, not one of my favorite books of the year so far. I do definitely see potential for this to blow me away in the future. I'm very pleasantly surprised because I went into this knowing it was heavily compared to Wheel of Time. I'm definitely very happy that the comparisons to that series are more in the plot elements that we have and the scope of the plot than it is the delivery of the series, which is what I really don't like about Wheel of Time. And this, I would say, is for my classic fantasy fans. If you like Chosen One stories, if you like stories of elves and dwarves and giants and hero arcs with found families who all embark on a journey together to save the world, if you like stories of ancient knights and ancient orders and ancient magic coming together to overthrow a more modern force, then I feel like you will really enjoy this one. If you like Wheel of Time, if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like the way that John Gwyn's books are written, I feel like you would definitely enjoy this book. For me, this feels very much like a debut and very much like the start of something amazing, but this first book on its own did not blow me away, but I'm definitely open to the rest of the books in this series achieving that instead. So that does bring us to the end of this vlog. It was supposed to be 3 or 4 days, but it ended up being a weekly vlog. I do hope that you have enjoyed it though. The next vlog that you're going to see on my channel, fingers crossed, should be Shelvador Scraphair. I'm hoping to get started on that tomorrow. And the theme that we're going with, I can share with you now because I know what we're doing. I'm going to be reading books that I have more than one edition of, so duplicate copies, in the hope that I will unhaul at least one of the editions, because a lot of these books, I don't think I'm going to enjoy them enough to need to have multiple editions. So that's great. We'll be thinning out the TBR. But we also have the potential to have a little bit of a double whammy. If I don't enjoy the book enough to keep both of the copies, that is going to make a little bit of room on my shelves to get some things from the stacks onto the shelves as well. So of course, once again, a big thank you to the Broken Binding Publishing and also Black Crow PR for sending me a copy of this book to review. And thank you so much as well for the invite to the launch event because I had a wonderful time. I'm so excited to be continuing on with this series, and I hope that I can get to it shortly. I feel like I've been doing well with not only chunky books but fantasy books this year. So fingers crossed, this is the year that I want to bring back more epic fantasy, because I feel like I've let it slide a little bit and I've been reading a lot more genres that I do like, but I'm not as invested in as epic fantasy. Like, I want to get caught up. I want to read what all the girlies are reading when it comes to the epic fantasy genre. Or should I say all the bros, because that is a little bit more common when it comes to epic fantasy. But aside from that, guys, I do hope you've enjoyed this vlog if you've made it this far. If you have, please don't forget to like if you like it and subscribe if you wanna. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you're go when nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.